Hello, hello. Happy Thursday, everyone. All right. It's been a great week so far. My name is Jenny Damiano. I'm part of the sales team here at DMD. DMD is a Vias 3D company, and they specialize in providing engineering analysis and design solutions. So our goal really is to help you bring products faster and more efficiently to market. We're very excited for this live event. And again, my name is Jenny. I'm on the sales team with DMD, and I have my colleague here as well.
How are you guys doing? Thank you for joining us. My name is Jason Williams. I work with DMD US. I do software sales. I'm very excited for you guys to meet our speakers today. Today we have Mark Martel, who's been working with Dassault for 20 years. He's been assisting engineering companies with their 3D experience platform. And then we also have Jordan Tadish, and he's also been working with the company for over 9 years. And he also specializes in design process consulting. So we're very excited, and we're going to kick off things very shortly.
Yes, so thank you guys again for being here. As the live event goes on, if you do have absolutely any questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat. If we can't answer them at the end of the live event, we'll message you separately to be able to answer that. So it looks like we are ready. So now let's go to experience the live event.
So Jordan, looks like you're inside of SOLIDWORKS. Looks like you're also inside of SOLIDWORKS 2024.
2024, just released. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have installed 2024 yet, but it was just released, and you can start using it today if you're a SOLIDWORKS user. All right, Mark, can I get started?
Go ahead, get started.
All right. So, what I want to do for you guys today, since almost the entire audience is a SOLIDWORKS user, and for those that are not, please, I want to, there are a lot of thank yous going on at the beginning of the presentation. Thank yous to DMD, thank yous to everyone that came here. Okay, so what I want to show is how the 3D Experience platform can benefit the everyday average SOLIDWORKS user. Right, there's a lot of fancy things that we can do on the platform, as Mark just covered, but there are some fundamental things that once I started using it, I cannot live without moving into the future. So I'm going to give you my top 5 favorite things about the platform being integrated into SOLIDWORKS. And the first thing that you'll notice is there's nothing complex about it. It is still the SOLIDWORKS that you know. The feature tree on the side, the command manager on the top. You're not losing any features or anything like that. The only thing that changes is you have a tab over here on the left that gives you a lot of information about the data that you have open currently. Now, one of the things, there's status. Just like being able to save to any kind of cloud service, has it been synchronized to the internet yet so other people can see it? Is it locked or unlocked? More on that later. What revision is it? More on that later as well. But what I think everyone can really benefit from, no matter what level of CAD user that you might be, is the ability to just click on a component and see really important information for the design. So of course, when it's created, who it's created by, but what I love most is clicking the second tab right here, the Relations tab. One of the favorite features is that the storage is more than just storage so that everyone else can access it. It's CAD-aware cloud storage. And what I want to show you now is how that CAD-aware cloud storage, my fourth favorite feature, can promote concurrent design, meaning multiple designers designing at the same time on the same project. So from this little status icon on the side of my feature tree, I could see that all these files have been saved to the cloud. I can see whether they're locked or unlocked, and I can see their revision, and I can also see a little red X next to this component telling me that it's not the latest revision. So if I was working on this document and someone else made a change to a component that was referenced by this assembly, I'll be notified, and all I have to do to fix that problem is update this revision. Now, before I do that, I'm about to edit this assembly. And who's been in a situation before where you're working on a similar file and someone else is working on that exact same file at the same time? If that happens, you make a change and you save it, they make a change and they save it, and their save overwrites your save. And now you've lost your data, right? So this is a very simple concept. All I have to do, if I'm going to edit this file, I'm going to lock it. And by locking it, that just tells all my coworkers that they cannot edit that file. It will disallow them. It won't allow them to edit that file while I have it locked. So now this is a way of just making sure that you don't step on each other's toes and everyone is not, is overwriting each other's work is the main thing. Now, to update the revision, all I have to do is, let's go ahead and first understand what component we're talking about here. This little guy has sharp edges. It has chamfers on the edge. But if I exit isolation, that's the one that's out of date. So I'm just going to click on it, and one of the best things about the 3D Experience platform being integrated into SOLIDWORKS, again, like I said, the number one thing is it's easy to use. All the buttons appear on the shortcut menu. So I can go ahead and click this one, Replace by Revision, and it will search the entire platform for every revision that's related to this particular component. And I can see that there's a later one that says, tabs were added to stabilize the cylinder pin. Okay, great. I'm going to take revision A2, and it will automatically download that data. It will find it wherever it's stored for me. It doesn't matter. And it will replace that component in the context of this assembly. So if I click on that again, there it is. This isn't the most exciting demo. Usually what I'm doing is advanced surface modeling. But what allows me to focus on those very complex modeling workflows is taking my mind and my worries away from all of these other things that us as CAD designers usually have to worry about. So let's come back here. I think, Mark, the last thing that I want to show him is my fifth favorite thing, and that is informed collaboration. So what can we show them about that? Maybe you can make a little change. But before I do that, I want to point out, oh, do you want to show your PowerPoint again for this, or it doesn't matter?
No, we're good.
We're good. I want to point out, remind you about something that Mark said earlier. And one of the things, and you could see the slides on the back walls and the side over here. But one of the things that the platform enables you to do at the very least is share your data more easily. And sharing your data with people that don't have to buy a license of some software and don't have to install a complex software and learn how to use it. You can send your 3D data to anyone and they'll be able to spin it around in a browser. The way to make that happen is just with a simple new button called Share a File. And you could do this, you could share all kinds of different file formats, depending on what you prefer. And just clicking that button is going to take a copy of this assembly, it's going to package it, and it's going to upload it to the cloud and ask me a few questions about who I want to share it with and what permissions I want to give to them so that I can have full control over my data once it's put on the cloud. So Mark, I think I'm going to give you full control here. I'm going to let you share it externally. I'm going to let you share it with your coworkers if you want to just share your hyperlink that I'm sending you. I want to allow you to add comments.
Nice.
So markups and things like that. And all I have to do is copy this link and send it to them. I could send it via text message. I could send it via, WhatsApp. Whatever service you want to use to communicate, you could do that. If they're on the platform, I could send it to them as a chat on the platform as well. Okay, Mark, so what do we do once you get a file like this? And listen, this is my boss's boss, so I have to be very kind to him. But you notice who's doing all the real work right here, right? I'm going to put a little pressure on him and make him do a little demonstration as well. Is
Thank
that
you.
okay?
I'm good. Yeah. You want to switch to my iPad?
Yes.
All right. So before we switch over, though, I want to make sure we're all aware that what Jordan is running is SolidWorks, the same SolidWorks that you guys all run. This is installed on his laptop. SolidWorks itself is not running in the cloud. It's still installed on his laptop. The only difference is we gave the ability to save the data up into the platform, save the data into the cloud. That's the only difference. Everything else is still just SolidWorks, installed on his laptop, using his graphics cards and all that fun stuff. All right, so I'm on my iPad here, and I'm in a browser, as you guys can see. So there's a few things going on here, but what we want to do is showcase a couple things that we think might be the most impactful for this presentation. So in a browser, any device, obviously I'm running an iPad, you can go ahead and view the CAD data. You can view the parts, the assemblies, the drawings, you can do exploded views, you can do all kinds of fun stuff. You can also create a markup in order to collaborate back to Jordan on some challenges that I personally am seeing with this foot design.
Come on.
So I'm going to go ahead and create a markup file. I can give it a name, but right now it's good enough. And we're going to go ahead and use my pen, and down bottom you can see this area where I can do markup and annotations. We're going to go ahead and create a circle, and I'm going to make a big circle around that foot. Maybe I want to make sure he knows exactly what I'm talking about, so I'm going to put an arrow to that foot. Maybe I want to create some text, again, to make sure there's nothing missing. But this is pretty cool, too. You saw what I just did, that I clicked on the foot, Jordan, right? And it gave me the part number for the foot cover, which is kind of nice as well. All right, I'm going to use my typing skills here.
There you go. You need to narrate any of this?
I'm going to say Jordan, if my keyboard won't work. All right. Let's see what we're doing. Jordan, this foot design seems a little, what's the word I want to use? I'm not sure what the word is, boring in Spanish, but boring? There you go.
Repeat that, Mark.
I can't repeat that. All right, so that's a little markup that I just created. Now, I go back into my two windows. You can see above here, I have this these little tabs. I got a welcome tab, right? If I was trying to learn the platform, what are the tutorials I have at my disposal? You can see that looks really nice and neat. I also have one called tasks. Now, Jordan, let's assume that he's not standing right next to me. I want to create a to-do list for my friend Jordan to make sure he does the work. So we're going to add a task. You might need to hold the microphone again. All right, so Jordan, check out my markup. I'm going to say create. Now, the first thing I want to do is make sure that Jordan knows exactly what he needs to work on, is I'm going to attach this markup that I just created. Now, again, this is all browser-based, right? So I can easily just click and start to drag, go back to that task window, drop it on top of the task, and I just attach the exact markup that I need to Mr. Jordan's to-do list. But Jordan doesn't know yet that he needs to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more things. Number one, I'm going to make sure he knows that it's urgent, which is this exclamation point looking thing over here to the right in red. I'm also going to click on the little people, and I'm going to search for Jordan's name. So now Jordan is the assigner of this to-do list, this task. I'm going to see the notification pop up that his good friend Mark just assigned a task to him to complete. But before we do that, we want to make sure that we talk about what you're going to show next, right?
Yes.
All right, so for those if you look at the PowerPoint slide, we're going to jump over to this fourth button down here called Scalability. Now, we talk about the platform having all kinds of technology available to us. We're going to showcase one right now, which is implementing new tech, which is that middle one. So we didn't talk about this data set. This is from a different customer, from a company called Biodapt. There was an athlete who lost his leg snowmobiling years ago, and he didn't, Mike Schultz, thank you, and he didn't want the fact that he lost his leg stop him from being an all-star athlete. So he designed his own prosthetic leg, which is what you saw Jordan on the other screen. This prosthetic leg allowed him to still do motorsports, motorcycling, dirt biking, snowmobiling, snowboarding, and he even won a gold medal at the Special Olympics. So definitely no tennis shoes here. This is all very mechanical. So Jordan, you're going to work on a new cover for me?
Yes, yes. First, I want to show that the markup did come through. I got a little notification. You didn't see it because the screen wasn't switched over to ours at the time that I received it. But it's very convenient that as a designer, I can receive these, understand what the due date is, and then sure enough, just go ahead and click preview on the markup and be able to review that exact same markup that Mark, the markup guy, made for me. So it's a great communication tool. And if there's anything, that is uncertain about this, the nice thing is that this is 3D, right? So there's no question as to what that arrow is pointing to. It stays attached to the geometry that Mark clicked on. And Mark, you didn't do this, but you can make as many screenshots and markups on this file as you want. As I would click on those, it would rotate the model around and hide and show the appropriate annotations for each one. So it's a very convenient communication tool. Still, I don't think Mark did a good enough job communicating, so I could say, can you please explain what you want changed or something like that? And we can have a conversation just within the context of this task, which is really cool. Or maybe a coworker has an idea of how to complete this task, and they can add a comment and give some advice or something like that. All right, so I guess I'm going to accept this task. I'm going to move it to in work, and that's the other nice thing, is that all my managers will be able to see that, what my progress is on each one of my tasks as well. All right, let's go ahead and open up. This is a fun part of the demonstration. Now I get to do some actual CAD modeling. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to just drag and drop. And by the way, this is a web browser over here on the right. I'm just going to drag and drop this assembly file into a web browser app called Xshape. And if you don't know what Xshape is, it happens to be my favorite software on the 3D Experience platform, because my personal specialty is advanced surface modeling. And nothing has simplified my life more than subdivisional modeling. It's very capable, it's very high quality, and it allows you to do things much, much more quickly than traditional CAD modeling. So I'm excited to show you guys a little taste of how this works. So first off, I'm going to be a little nitpicky here and just change my view settings really quick, and maybe change the background too, just so you guys can see everything as clearly as possible. All right, now what Mark was actually getting at is he wants this particular cover removed and redesigned. I want to show you how I can create this cover using subdivisional modeling very, very quickly. And I just want to draw some attention to the details of this design. So it kind of has a curvature up here, and it has this profile that kind of changes throughout the entire top perimeter of this component all the way around the part. And I'm going to have to recreate that, okay? Now, what I have open in the web browser, and by the way, now that you guys all know this is a web browser, I'm just going to maximize it so we have a little more space here. So I'm going to hit the F11 key as a keyboard shortcut. This is the SOLIDWORKS assembly. So I'm able to work natively on the SOLIDWORKS assembly. And all these components were created in SOLIDWORKS. And what I could do inside of Xshape is I can edit that SOLIDWORKS assembly structure as well. So I could delete components, and I could even add components as well. So let me insert a brand new part. I'll call this new cover. No, forget that. I at least know this, Nuevo cover. I'll place that at the origin. And what we're going to do is start doing some subdivisional modeling. So I'm going to start very, very basic here. We're going to insert, we can insert a bunch of different shapes, but what I like to do is start with a box most of the time. It's a very versatile shape. And what we're going to do is we're going to place that directly at the center of the model. Oh, let's see here. Launch that again. Yeah. I was a little nervous about the internet connection here today. I think we're going to be all right. I might need to refresh. We'll see. But, I mean, it comes with the thing. You don't need to spend a lot of money on a computer because this can run on a Chromebook, on a tablet, whatever. But you do need an internet connection at all times. All right, I'm a little nervous now. Let's see. I'm just going to hit refresh, and we'll get back to here in a second. I'll check my internet too. All right, did come up quickly. We should be okay. Any questions so far? We might as well, or play the background music as I reload this and get to where I was. No questions? We traveled to a lot of different states across the United States, but also different countries as well. And I think what we're noticing is, what I've personally noticed, is every CAD designer is struggling with the same challenges across the world. The file naming, the broken references, all those things that I mentioned earlier, the reason those things are on my top 5 list is because they're so popular across the world. Now, enabling people with this software is not only good to allow them to focus less on that hassle and more on their design, but it's great to be able to allow them to collaborate. And the cool thing that I'm really excited to see is not only how the Mexican market evolves, but the whole engineering market across the world evolves. Because I think we'll have a lot more opportunities to collaborate across borders. And I think that that'll be excellent. I don't see any reasons why this wouldn't be anything but a benefit for all the designers here in this room today and across Mexico. So I'd love to carry on this discussion as we have drinks after the presentation. It's a great topic, and I'd love to hear your feedback as well. Okay, so to continue on, one of the things that was pretty nice that just happened, I did lose an internet connection, but I refreshed the browser, and it brought me back right to where I was. I just had to add this little cube right here. And one of the common objections to subdivisional modeling, if you haven't seen it before, it's the ability to just push and pull things into shape. But one of the common objections is it's too flexible. It's not precise enough. So I want to point out that you can make it be as precise as you want it to be, to the point that you can actually type in the dimensions that you need it to be right from the get-go, so that you can make sure that you're designing within that specific envelope of dimensions. Now, this is the easiest shape that we could ever make, but it's about to get more complex as I go. So let's go ahead and change some of these very sharp edges, and let's smooth them out a little bit. So I have this little dial, and I can change how sharp a corner is. And this is one of the key fundamental things that is unique about this environment is we can add fillets, but fillets are a very abrupt change of curvature. You go from a perfectly flat face to a perfectly curved face. And you'll never find that on any kind of consumer products like, a phone in my pocket or these headphones. They're going to use nice, smooth blends of curvature. And that's what surface modeling, you spend hours trying to accomplish. And here, you could just go ahead and click a couple of buttons, and it will automatically maintain, for the tech people in the room, a G2 level of curvature continuity standard throughout the model, unless you tell it to be a sharp edge. Now, what was the thing that we had to do? I'm going to come to this side view, and I'm just going to do the very first command, which is nothing more than grabbing this arrowhead and dragging it downwards, okay? And again, if you want, you could be as precise as you want to be. You could snap to the ruler on the screen, so you move it in a precise dimension, and you can continue to do that every time. But what I'm more concerned about is the aesthetics of this design. Now, I want it to be not a straight line across the top. I want it to be a nice curve. So if we were drawing a spline in SOLIDWORKS, and we had a 2-point spline, the smoothest transition between 2 points is a straight line. If we wanted it to be curved, we would add another point to that spline. And here what we could do is, because this is a 3D model, we're adding not just a point to that line, but a loop of points and edges all the way around the model. So from the side view, I can grab this top edge and drag it upwards, okay? Until whatever looks good. So that's another big benefit of the modeling environment here, subdivision modeling, is I don't have to hit a button and wait for the whole model to rebuild itself. I can see the changes live as they're happening. Okay, on this top surface, I want to add more detail. Remember that ridged edge all the way around the perimeter? I'm going to add more detail, so I need more points in that region. So I'm just going to select those faces and subdivide them. That's where subdivisional modeling gets its name. I'm going to select this edge right here and insert another loop of edges. And there's a lot of nice keyboard shortcuts around here too. Like, I could select one face, shift select another face to select an entire loop of faces, which is very convenient. And you notice it's just like SOLIDWORKS. Once I click on something, it's bringing up a context toolbar that is dependent on what I just selected. So SOLIDWORKS is always thinking, if you selected this, you might want to do this next. So I'm going to, again, crease these edges just to make them a little more sharp, and we'll sharpen those corners as well. Now, this might have been boring so far, but this is where it's going to get interesting. I'm going to select this loop of edges and drag upwards, and now you see that shape start to take form. I could drag it downwards, I could drag it upwards, and if I hit OK, we'll see a better preview once it's calculated at full resolution. Let me hide these planes. All right, so far so good. Now, it's going to get way better than that, just trust me. How many people do surface modeling in the audience? Okay, just a few, and that's typical. It's not very popular because a lot of people are intimidated by it. It takes a long time to learn. There's a lot of different workflows to create one type of shape, and you don't know which one to use. Well, that is the benefit of this tool as well, is I think it democratizes complex modeling so that it could be simple enough for anyone to do. Now, let me show you something. The surface modelers in the room might think that wouldn't be hard to create. I could create a lofted or a swept surface all the way around the perimeter. But what if you needed to make a change? What if you needed to make this edge higher than this edge? Well, all I have to do here is double click that loop again, and this little manipulator, I can relocate onto that back edge. And now, if I come to this view right here, not only can I translate, but I can also drag this little arc and rotate about that edge as well. So now, very easily and visually, I can see that that is exactly what I wanted to happen. It's a little deeper over here and a little more shallow over there. Visual, fast, and easy. One of the things that I love to do is have design reviews with other people that are interested in the design. They can tell me what to do, and I can do it live for them to see the result, and we could get to a final design much faster that way, rather than modeling for 3 hours in surface modeling, sending them a model, and find out that I didn't do the right thing. Okay, Mark, what do you think of this so far? I think that's pretty much a general shape. Is that good enough?
It is the general shape of the original foot, Jordan, but I don't know about you, but the rest of the audience, I don't think it looks non-boring. It's still very boxy. It's still very easy to do. I could have done this, I think, in SOLIDWORKS pretty easily.
Okay.
So I want you to do more, although I do want you to go quicker.
Okay, all right. Faster. Let's go. Are you concerned about manufacturability at all?
Yes, 100%. I am. So there's no way the draft on this is going to be good enough to get pulled out of a mold.
Okay. So you might be concerned about draft analysis, right? No problem here. We could be as precise as we want to be. If I turn on draft analysis, I can go ahead and see a preview of the geometry as I'm working. So if I double click here to edit the shape again, then I can go ahead and select these bottom surfaces. And I showed you what happens when you drag an arc. I showed you what happens when you drag an arrow. When you drag a dot, it scales in either direction. Okay, so we see a live preview not only of the geometry, but of the draft analysis, so we can make sure that we meet our minimum manufacturing requirements and we don't make any mistakes or something that's unmanufacturable. I could drag this one out too. And Mark, you also mentioned that you wanted to look a little more fancy than this. So let's exit out of draft mode. I'm going to create a duplicate copy of this design because I'm not so sure this crazy next design is going to be something I want to keep. I want to be able to come back to this shape if I need to. So I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it to make a duplicate copy. Put it right in the same space at the same scale, and now we can go ahead and hide the original design. So here's our new design. One more thing before I start editing this, to make it more obvious of what I want to accomplish, I'm going to start let's see here. Let's start a new sketch on this top plane. And one of the things that always bothered me about this design is the fact that from the top view, it didn't really follow the contours of the sole beneath it. So I'm just going to create a shape that encapsulates all of those edges so that I can reference them and see them very clearly, and you guys can see them very clearly and follow along, okay? I'm going to delete these edges. Let's just pick a few more and get rid of those as well. All right, so that will just be a simple reference as I get going on this new revised shape. From the side view, I want this to be a little more low profile, so I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to drag the front down a little bit as well. From the top view, see these edges that I've just copied right here? I want to that contour. So I'm going to drag this out a little bit. Maybe I will drag these edges and collapse them a little bit, move them up here. We'll see how that goes. And drag this one over here. It's getting there. It's moving along. I don't think I'm going to be able to cut that inwards enough, so if I need more detail in a specific region, just add another loop of detail, and then that gives me more points that I can select on and move around, okay? If I want the nose of this to be a little sharper, one thing I could do is get rid of these creased edges so it's not so boxy. Let's go ahead and bring that all the way down to 0. And if I want this to be a little sharper in the front, maybe I'll select this edge and insert another loop, okay? So it's very experimental. It's very reactive to whatever you're doing. And you could play around with this as much as you want until it's just perfect. I'm going to be, Mark told me to hurry up, so I'm not going to be a perfectionist about it, but you can see in just a few seconds, I've completely changed the entire aesthetic of the design. Now, I want to show you 2 more things before I wrap up. One thing is, it looks a little awkward that we have this bump in the back of this surface. I want it to be more smooth. So again, with the common misconception that this is not precise, I want to show you if I get rid of the crease of those edges, it will smooth it out. But to smooth those faces out perfectly, I can select all 6 of them and choose geometric relations just like you can in SOLIDWORKS. I could say, make them all coincident to each other so they're on a plane. And again, to the surfacing people in the room, how long would it take to make these changes that I just made? And look how smooth that transition actually is. It goes from this profile up here, and it gets more and more smooth until it's just a perfectly flat line all the way across here. Perfect blend. That is exactly what I've done in any product design to make it as high quality as possible. All right, final thing. The other design element here is that this is a guard for the cylinder on the foot right here. The gas spring, if you will. And I want this to wrap around that gas spring. So I'm going to select all of these edges, and there's a bunch of cool keyboard shortcuts like the shift key I mentioned earlier. And there's a lot of other tools that I haven't covered here that help you do more complex scenarios with ease. So this horizontal line going across here, I can adjust the length of it. And what it's saying is, at this end of the line, there is a 0% influence. And as we approach this end of the line, there's a 100% influence of whatever I do with this. So I can do a very gradual curvature adjustment. And you can see the points on the right are moving a lot, and the points on the left are not moving at all. So rather than having to drag each one of those points individually, that's happening automatically in a gradient-like effect that is perfectly smooth all the way across the model. So it's with elements like that, it's with tools like that, that allow me to do very complex shapes very fast at a very high level of quality that is absolutely, Mark, manufacturable. And this geometry comes perfectly back into SOLIDWORKS. I could shell it. I can cut it. I can add ribs. I can add lips and grooves and make it even more manufacturable and continue the design process as far as we want to take it.
You can make a drawing of it.
You can make a drawing of it, add dimensions to it. It comes in as real geometry. It's really important to point out one last point.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of our competitors that you see doing this type of geometry, the output is tessellated geometry. So it's like an STL that you would export for 3D printing. It's not very great for downstream manufacturability and machining and things like that. This is the highest quality surface that you would get in SolidWorks if you modeled it natively in SolidWorks as well. Okay? I hope you guys enjoyed. That's just a glimpse of some of the power and the other functionalities that the 3D Experience platform unlocks.
So yeah, Jordan's right. That piece of functionality we wanted to show you because it sort of highlights the fact that we can scale into new technology once you have your data stored in the platform from SolidWorks. So once you do save from SolidWorks, you can start utilizing things like X-Shape, and then you can start utilizing also some advanced simulation and manufacturing tools, which we're going to get to after the break in 5 minutes. I do want to touch on one more comment about the internet thing. Remember when I mentioned that SolidWorks is installed on Jordan's laptop. We're only saving data to the cloud. So, 2 things. Number 1, if you don't have internet access, if you're traveling on a plane, if you're in a place that doesn't have internet access, you can run SolidWorks offline. So you can still create data, you can save data locally. You do not need an internet connection to run SolidWorks. And number 2, if you do lose connection within SolidWorks, you can still save locally, so you never lose your data no matter what. So you can work offline with SolidWorks, and you can always store your data locally if the internet connection for some reason does go down. Obviously, the tool that Jordan is using needs the internet in order to do its solving, so that's why we had that little snafu.
I should not say this in front of my boss's boss, but I've been working with a reseller like DMD in the United States for 6 years, and I've been working for SolidWorks, getting paid by SolidWorks to use their products for 9 years, almost 10 years. And I love modeling. I don't love data management. And my confession is I learned how to use PDM, but I always kind of avoided it because I didn't like having to upgrade the archive server. I didn't like having to upgrade the SQL server. I didn't like having to manage the many, many settings that are in there. Now, that's not to say that it's not an excellent product. It's a great product, and it has a lot of configuration. But for me, which I think I represent kind of a majority of users, because only a percentage of our users actually use PDM. For me, it's the simplicity and the ease of use and the convenience. I never knew how often I would want to access my CAD data from someone else's computer until I was able to do that. And I was able to just log into the web and get that data down. Those situations have presented themselves very often to me, which has been just one of the many benefits of having the server on the cloud rather than a local machine that requires VPN, which might slow your connection down depending on how remote your employees are. Again, it's a great product, PDM, and it has a lot of sophistication, but it's the simplicity that is my biggest advantage. The artistic part is what you just saw me demonstrate, is the X-shape modeling. For a lot of the digital art that you're talking about, there's a lot of software out there. There's, there's software that's potentially inexpensive, but there's also software that's potentially, very hard to learn and takes years of experience. So that is exactly what we're trying to do with the platform. The entire 3D Experience platform, what you'll see with simulation, what you'll see with all of the more artistic tools that we have out there. Dassault has a rich history in that industry as well. you're going to see a lot more and more of that functionality all being built onto this. But I would say that, you know, I think SolidWorks is often used a lot by like industrial designers now. I don't know if you see it here in Mexico, but in the United States, we've found that a lot of industrial designers have changed from the past tools that they use to learning how to use SolidWorks because it's so much easier to share their data. So what we're trying to do is allow them to still use their most comfortable tools and collaborate with SolidWorks at the same time. I think one of the, that is one of the things that brings me most peace in using the 3D Experience platform, because I worked for a small company, a stamping manufacturer before, and we had an internal IT department, and we actually had malware on our server, ransomware, and we had, our IT department had to pay a fee to be able to release those documents and get them back. I found out recently that these ransomware attacks are happening more and more, and we haven't had it happen on any of our servers. Our servers are cloud servers that have the highest technology of security, but most importantly, hundreds of people working around the clock to update and security patches around the clock, and always the latest, most advanced technology to protect against those attacks. One of the things that I learned recently about the ransomware is, and I don't know what the stats are in Mexico, but in the United States, 80% of ransomware attacks are paid off so that they could get their data back. So people understand how valuable their data is, and they're willing to pay to get it back. So that is a big benefit of the platform, is we have a record of 0 hacks or stolen data, and we do have white papers and reports that go over all the details of all the security technologies that we use to protect against that type of stuff.
Perfect. Well, that was a great event. Jordan and Mark are fantastic. So thank you guys all so much for tuning in. I did just want to bring to your attention as well. So the DMD team, we're going to be sending you an email. And then just with your responses, you'll qualify for entry to win a 3D printer. And we're going to do a raffle for that. So that's going to be in March. So definitely just keep an eye out on an email from us, because we would love to put you in that raffle as well. And I know we're coming up a little bit short on time, but it looks like we do have a few questions. Let's see if we can just kind of answer those really quickly. Here we go. We've got one. What do I need to access to the 3D Experience tools? So if you already have a SolidWorks license that has the cloud services, you can access that platform and install it. It's the collaborative designer for SolidWorks role. So that should be something that you should be able to have access to and just go ahead and install it. But if you do have questions how to do it, just reach out to us and we can show you. And then let's see, we've got a question from Kevin. Jason, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I can take that one. Let me
Okay.
see here. Okay, so Kevin asks, does a share with the link feature work for any user? And yes, Kevin, it does. Any user can open the link and view the shared information, regardless of whether it's for SolidWorks or 3D Experience. You'll be able to have access to it.
Yeah, it's great. Really, anybody will be able to have access to sending that information for the link. And then we've got one more question from Kevin. Can I access the applications for industrial and parametric design from any iPad? And the answer is yes. I feel like there is always yes for all of these questions, but when it comes to the cloud-based applications, you really can access 3D Experience from anywhere. So it makes it nice, simple, everybody's connected. But again, thank you everyone for attending, and we'll be reaching out to you. Enjoy your Thursday, and we will talk to you guys soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.